The Lake Tekapo Scientific Reserve is one of several in the Mackenzie Basin. They've been put in government ownership because of their significant natural area or landscape. Researchers from the Department of Conservation, Landcare Research and other organisations are undertaking a long-term study of recovery of tussock grasslands and native fauna following the exclusion of livestock, as well as infestations of rabbits and Hieracium.
This area here is called the Lake Tekapo Scientific Reserve, and it's a relatively large reserve in the Intermontane Basin. This reserve is just over 1,000 hectares, and the Intermontane Basin is the sort of flat inner area of the Mackenzie country. And this is one of about 4 reserves that we've got of this sort of size in the basin. We took over management of this reserve in 1987. It had previously been managed by Lands and Survey. It had a grazing licence on it, and it got put into the rabbit land management program because it had a significant rabbit problem. So from that point on, the reserve was fenced as part of the rabbit land management program, which was a government assistance program for managing the rabbit problem coming out of the 80s. And the grazing licence was stopped in the early 90s. And then there's the other issue of wilding trees, which we've continued to manage as well. The goal of the research is to try and work out what do we need to do to restore an area like this from a nature conservation kind of point of view. And so how long does it take to restore tussocks and the associated vegetation? What could we do maybe to assist that process?
We're over on what they call the moraine fan. So when they were setting up the monitoring, they divided it into landforms. So this is one of the sites that was established in about 1993. We're seeing a lot of difference in terms of the tussocks. I mean, that's the very strong, obvious difference here. There was no tussocks here at all. It was bare ground, and Hieracium was a very strong, dominant thing. We've had Landcare involved this time, and they're repeating the ag research sites that were done in 93 and 95. So there were 2 previous monitoring, and now we're repeating it. So that's nearly 20 years later. There's a definite change, particularly on these moraine sites. With the deeper soils, you can see the tussocks have come back through, and there is an increase in some of the brown top, but the native species has come back, and there's a big decrease in the bare ground. There's 8 of these sites here that have been marked since 1993, and I'm placing the grid over the top of that in the same direction that it was done in. And then I'm looking at each of the plants and recording how much the percentage of cover that it is in that particular grid. So I've got to keep a really good eye on exactly what the percentage cover of each of these species are. So we've got things like native broom, Carmichelia vexillata, which is quite a strong species in the Mackenzie. And as we move through, you can see these tiny little grey plants here and here. This is a little native daisy. You can just see the head there. And we've got these sort of prickly things here that's match Pototura or leucopogon. They're quite prickly things if you want to sit on them. And we've got also little matcoprosmas here and through here. So just a little mat species. In through here we've got mosses, and we've got little daisies, little salmizias. This is a really good variety of native plants in here. The Hieracium is right back in very small quantities here, and we've got some other little native grasses coming up and right in all the way through here. And there's very little bare ground, so this is a very good site. And there's other little things sprouting up here. There's some lichens, more mosses. The more you look and the closer you look, there's actually lots and lots of different variety of species right in through here. In good sites with healthy soil, the native species are becoming dominant. You can see it in these sites here where they've gone through the Hieracium. They struggle a wee bit more in some of the drier sites. It's very hard to compete against the Hieracium, but there's no doubt that these tussocks and all these plants have come back much more strongly, and the Hieracium's reduced. So it's a really good sign.
This program was made with funding from New Zealand On Air.